We start with our Newsmaker segment and talk about organized labor in Kansas City and beyond. Labor unions are strong allies of the Democratic Party, and the past 6 years have not been good ones for the party of FDR. Democrats have lost control of most state legislatures and governors' offices. A right-to-work law seems likely in Missouri, something unions have fought against for years. Republicans also have firm control of the U.S. Congress, and in just a few days, a Republican will succeed a Democrat in the White House. So what will be the consequences for the labor movement? To discuss that and more is Judy Ansel, Director of Worker Education and Labor Studies at UMKC. Judy, welcome to Ruckus. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's talk a bit about right to work. Do you see that as the biggest issue facing labor in the metro area and throughout the bi-state area?
Well, I think clearly labor sees it as the biggest issue. It's kind of a deal breaker as far as collective bargaining is concerned, because it's a direct attack on unions. It's a direct attack on workers' rights to collective bargaining.
Just explain in essence what right to work is. It means that an employee in a company represented by a union doesn't have to pay dues.
Right. Basically, it outlaws the ability of a company and its union to make an agreement that all of the workers would either pay dues or pay for the bargaining services that the union under law is required to give them. So it's as if, let's say you live in Kansas City, you're a taxpayer in Kansas City, and you have a referendum to build a community center or a library. And the majority of people vote to do that. But then this kind of law would give the right to a citizen to say,
not pay
I don't want to
taxes
pay
for
the taxes.
that program, yeah.
Right. So basically, it undercuts the ability of the union financially, but it also divides the workers. Yeah. And so it's seen by unions as a direct attack on their power.
Why do you think union leaders can't convince employees to join? Why they can't point out what they believe are the benefits of union membership?
Well, you know, most people in a unionized workplace do join a union. It's a minority who drop out. Those people are people who want to take advantage of a free ride, basically. And what the legislature is doing in passing right to work is giving an incentive to people who want to take advantage of the system, who want to game the system.
Lawmakers would say, Republican lawmakers would say, it makes the state more pro-business and business-friendly.
Well, yeah, but it also is going to make the state poorer. I mean, there's numerous studies that show that right-to-work states, workers make less money, but also the states lose a tremendous amount. We're talking billions of dollars in tax revenue that is going to impact the state's budget.
Majority of states now have right to work, I believe. I think the count is 27. I
yes,
think Kentucky
with Kentucky this week,
and Missouri, I think it's fair to say, probably will become a right to work state before very long. Another issue that I know you've been very involved with is the minimum wage area in Kansas City. You're hoping to get the minimum wage for entry-level workers at $15 an hour, roughly, over a period of time. Do you see any progress in that area?
Well, there was a tremendous amount of progress when Kansas City passed an increase in the minimum wage 2 years ago.
But I think the state legislature said that wasn't within the purview of the city.
To the cities that they don't have the right to do that, and they preempted. That's still in the courts and being decided whether or not the legislature did that properly. So we'll see. But clearly, state legislatures that are controlled by Republicans across the country are moving to take away the rights of people in cities to determine what their regulations are going to be.
Back to right to work for just a second. If Missouri passes that law, and we assume that'll be the case, will labor leaders try to get an initiative petition on the ballot in 2018 to overturn it?
I think that's a possibility. I don't think that's been decided yet. I think that the leadership of the state's unions are still discussing what options they have, but clearly there will be a reaction.
Down to about 30 seconds, one final question. I saw a quote attributed to you, and I assume it's accurate, that you said, a cabinet filled with CEOs and generals is not in workers' best interest. Obviously, you're talking about the appointees.
I said that?
Well, you're quoted as saying that. Do you not believe that?
A cabinet filled with CEOs and generals is not in the workers'
best interest?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Quickly, why?
Why? Because you don't have the voice of working people, you don't have the experience of working people. CEOs have their own interests, and they're different.
But they
from
have
working
achieved a
people.
great deal in their own lives,
They
wouldn't
may
you
have
say,
achieved a great
generals and
deal,
CEOs?
but they have very different interests and experiences.
We'll have to talk about this some other time,
I have
because
been
we're out
happy
of
to.
time now.
Thank you so
Judy,
much,
thank you
Mike.
very much for coming in. It's good to see you.
Thanks.
That is Judy Ansell, Director of Worker Education and Labor Studies at UMKC. Now let's meet the panel and start a ruckus.